Okay, good evening on this historic day in Urbana. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Jacobson? Mr. Hazen?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
Mayor Marlin?
Here. Next up is approval of the minutes from several previous meetings, including some that were released from closed session meetings. We have minutes from August 7th, 2017, August 7th public hearing, August 14th public hearing, and special meetings from June 2nd, 2014, September 22nd, 2014, and September 26th, 2016. And there's a corrected copy of the June 2nd, 2014 minutes on your, at your desk. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second. I'm going to give that to Eric Jacob. Or not Eric, but Dennis.
Was that
to Eric.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Moved by Aaron, seconded by Dennis. Any corrections to the minutes? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. Under public input, we have the Library Board Annual Report from Director Celeste Schoep.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm very pleased to announce yet another wonderful year at the Urbana Free Library. You have in front of you a multi-page document with the annual report, which summarizes a number of the great things that law requires that we share with you from the Library Board. There's also a 37-page document of the actual IPLA report, which is the Illinois Public Library Annual Report. The website was being a little bit funky today, so I wasn't able to print it in the right way. I had to do a Word doc, cut and paste. So by the end of the evening, I will play with the website some more and hopefully be able to send you an exported document that's cleaner, that everyone has a copy, because that is why I'm here tonight, is to make sure you get your copy. So that will be heading your way. But I thought we could talk about some of the highlights. 30,131 people attended 758 programs last fiscal year. The library currently has 12,201 cardholders, and as September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month, we have a whole bunch of different outreach activities happening so that we can get even more cardholders using the library. Our circulation last year was 812,219 checkouts of physical materials as well as ebooks and e-audiobooks and e-videos. Over 65,000 reference questions were answered. Over 54,500 computer sessions were used, which was 43,000 hours of people using the public internet stations and word processing stations at the library. And almost 380,000 people visited the library. So your library is a well-loved, well-used institution in the community. Today, as a matter of fact, there are 25,000 items checked out worth over $504,000. And that includes ebooks. There are 773 ebooks checked out at the moment. We don't have an actual value on those because they're purchased en masse with the consortium. But that's a whole lot of stuff moving around. A big event that happened for us this year was on the last day of the fiscal year, the Urbana Free Library Foundation purchased the vacant corner lot at 202 West Green Street. This is a move that had been desired by the community for a number of years, and they fundraised really hard, and the response was amazing. And so that's a picture there of former President Bob Switzer and incoming President Ruth Wyman of the foundation, who donated the property to the Urbana Free Library. Big news is the Chanute Air Force Base would have been 100 years old this year, where it's still around, and so we're celebrating its 100-year anniversary. And part of the reason we're able to do that is because the Urbana Free Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library have given us extra funds so that we can hire interns to process the collection in a more expeditious manner. So we're grateful to both the Friends and the Foundation for their generous support of the collections moved to the archives and for funding the graduate intern. City Council approved our budget, which include a intern position as well. So we currently have 2 interns working to process the collection to move it along. There are a bunch of different 100-year anniversary programs, including asking community members who participated in Chanute or were impacted in Chanute by sharing their story with us. So we'll be collecting our stories over the next year and probably in an ongoing manner as well. We launched some new collections this year. You can see we have a music collection. We've got different types of guitars, different amps, and then a percussion clip hit so you can play the drums. We're going to be expanding that collection this year. We received, through the foundation, a $500 grant from Walmart. So ukuleles and mandolin is on the way. And some stomp boxes, so you can test different effects on your electric guitars. So this is a collection that's been very popular, and we expect to see it expand over the next several years. In addition, within the library, you can check out a Chromebook, a laptop, or a tablet to use, because sometimes you don't want to sit at the preset stations. Maybe you want to curl up in a cozy corner or be with your kids in the kids' room, but we make that available on both the second floor and the children's room checkout desk. We also started checking out video games, which has been very popular. In addition, we looked at some sciencey things, so you can check out models, human anatomy models, including the human brain and the human eye. We've got telescopes, microscopes, and then different globes, including a globe of the moon, of Mars, and of Venus. And the little guy in the corner is holding one of our hands-on learning kits. Last fiscal year, we launched the math literacy kits and the learning to read literacy kits. And this year, the science kits, both for the 3D science and the science kits, were launched through a gift with Glenna Spitzy in honor of her daughter, Megan Spitzy. So thanks to our donors, once again, we're able to provide extra things to the community we wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. So managing and maintaining the library's aging facilities, the front of the building, that first building part is 99 years old. We're celebrating 100 years next year, which is very exciting, the Royer building. It's increasingly time-consuming and expensive, as you are well aware. Thank you for the $125,000 this year to replace the boiler, which is happening as we speak. We anticipate large capital expenses to continue in the near future. We are participating in the city's Guaranteed Energy Savings Project, which is moving ahead, and that will help us be energy efficient and cost-effective. The boiler is being replaced right now, and the HVAC control system has been updated, so we're able to actually use the system to do dial backs at night, which wasn't happening when the system wasn't working right. Part of the air handler failed this summer and needed to be replaced. That was $8,500. And then, as you know, the part of the porch, which is 99 years old, collapsed earlier this year. So we have some bids on what it would cost to move ahead with planning what it would cost to repair the whole porch. So we're moving ahead with that. The estimated cost in 2005 for porch rebuilding was $250,000. So we are excited to hear what that might cost us now. And the foundation has already stated that they would look to support that effort. That is what they are thinking about for a fall campaign, because people love the front of the building, and the porch is what helps make it iconic in our community. For the second year in a row, the library didn't receive what was originally designated by the state for the library per capita funding. The previous fiscal year, the library received almost $20,000 less, and this year, the library didn't receive any money, which would have been about $32,000. So we are hopeful that as the state budget is being settled out, that we will receive the $32,000 from last year, this year, in addition to whatever being budgeted for this year. So funds are what they are. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate the support of our community these other ways with the Friends and the Foundation and other gifts that have come our way, including a $300,000 gift from the bequest of Vincent Green for the start of a low vision room, which we will look at in potential expansions in the future. Next up, we have another strong year that's already begun. We had our second Comic-Con, which had over 500 attendees, which was wonderful. Over 300 people came today to view the eclipse as a community, and another set of people came this morning for the kids program that came beforehand. And then we just launched a musical instruments for children set of kits, and so little egg shakers and little bells and all kinds of things. It's going to be super popular. And we have a productivity collection and a craft collection. So within that productivity collection, you've got things like VHS to DVD converters or a flip camera and things like that. And then you've also got a yarn Swiffer so you can get your balls of yarn wound the right way. and other things like that. So our community's really been excited, and we've had a couple community members reach out and say, these are things that would interest me. And so our librarians talk with them and then add those things to our collection. So any questions?
Aaron?
So thank you again, Celeste, for a wonderful job that you all do at the library. It certainly is a jewel for our community. The question that I have is in relationship to the work that gets done, the bids and all that type of stuff. Who replaces the boiler? Is that something that the city does, or do you contract for that?
We did contract for that, and we had an RFP process.
And who is actually doing that work?
Reliable won that contract, won that bid.
Okay. And so when you go through that process, do you work with anyone as far as the city, or is it just a process that you all do at the library or through the foundation to determine who wins those bids?
So I'm on the purchasing policy committee that the city is going through. So I'm one of those members, and we have been following what the city has been doing during this process. And gentlemen in Public Works have been very generous with their time, and Elizabeth has been and Jim, very generous with their time so that we can make sure the library is following good procedure and law as we work through these different processes, because there's a lot of expensive work that's going to be happening, and we want it to be a fair bidding process.
And so are any of those, do those conversations include any sort of minority participation goals or anything in relationship to that type of work or those capital projects that are being done?
We are looking at what the city is doing in those areas, and so, for example, we are asking what I will propose to the board will be based on the city's purchasing policy manual, which isn't completed yet. But we're going to be looking, my recommendation will be to follow closely with what the city is doing.
Okay. I think that's it for now. But again, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, we have a proclamation to read, which I'll read now. And that is proclamation by the mayor of the city of Urbana, Illinois. Whereas the library card is the most important school supply of all, and whereas libraries play an important role in the education and development of children and adults, and whereas library programs range broadly from getting every child ready to read and school preparedness to homework help and building research skills to GED classes and access to financial aid resources. And whereas libraries offer digital and traditional literacy training to help students of all ages, and whereas libraries continue to transform and expand their services in ways that meet the needs of the communities they serve. Now, therefore, I, Diane Wolf Marlin, Mayor of the City of Urbana, Illinois, do hereby proclaim September 2017 as National Library Card Sign-Up Month in the City of Urbana, Illinois. I encourage everyone to sign up for their own library card today at the free and wonderful Urbana Library. And I'll give you this to take back to the library.
Thank you.
I just remembered. Thank you. So I understand that there soon will be another one of the great book sales at the library. Can you tell me a little bit of information about that?
Thank you very much. It starts on Thursday night. Thursday night will be Friends Night. If you're a member of the Friends, which is just $10, you can get in for that preview night. And then Friday, Saturday will be full price days. Sunday is half-off day, and Monday is bag day, which is generally from 9 to 1 or when the books run out, and bag day is free. So you are welcome to, please come take whatever is left and hasn't been purchased. The Friends would be very happy with that. And they raise between $15,000 and $20,000 a year with these efforts. It's amazing.
I had a question too. As far as your implementation of the new policy for kids that live outside the district
Yes.
that qualify for free and reduced lunches to get a library card, has that started to take hold, or are you doing that now?
I'm glad you asked. We had staff, as they do, go to the all-school registration on campus at the middle school, and they had 58 people sign up for library cards who we believe qualify for the free or reduced lunch with the schools, the fee waivers. And so what we're waiting for with the schools is the mechanism so that we know that they are people that meet that criteria. So we're expecting a letter or something like that to come to be able to issue those cards. But yeah, 58 people applied that believe meet the criteria.
Okay, great. And then another kind of similar back-to-school question. Recently came up on a neighborhood email list that people are starting to look at tablets to get for their kids and what kind of options they have as far as content kind of screening or watching. The ones that you loan out in the library, are there various kinds, or is it all iPads? I know you have Chromebooks, and it says laptops and tablets, but are they a mix of Android and Apple so that people can kind of test them out and get a flavor of what's out there?
They're not a mix right now, actually, except the laptops and the Chromebooks are a mix. The tablets are one kind, and I will say the wrong kind, so I won't.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay. I mean, you might keep that in mind. People are kind of looking for ways to test things out and suggestions, and I don't know how much you can steer people toward commercial products, but they're looking for suggestions.
what you say, though, is helpful, the giving people options, so letting people see for themselves what works for them. So I will bring that back. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we should also acknowledge the dozens and dozens of community volunteers who serve on the library board, the Library Foundation, and Friends of the Library who maintain all the landscaping and flowers outside the library and do a lot inside as well. The library wouldn't be what it is without the, I would say, hundreds of volunteers who work at the library. Thank you. Okay, we have one public input from Bishop King James Underwood. Chooses not to address the council, but it reminds us that he is continually concerned about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problems. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council at this time? Okay. No unfinished business is before us. Reports of standing committees. Jared Miller for the Committee of the Whole.
All right, so first up we have ordinance number 2017-08-044, an ordinance that was moved from committee last week to council for approval, and I will follow that guidance and move this ordinance for approval by the council.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll do that. Second it.
Seconded by Dennis. Any discussion? Bill?
I'm not sure if you said the topic, dedication of right-of-way from 2201 Philo Road. Is this the one?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hasten?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
And also Mr. Roberts.
All right.
That motion passes. Next up,
On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I will move resolution number 2017-08-050R, a resolution to approve an intergovernmental agreement, and this is the agreement between the City of Urbana, the Free Library, and Champaign County regarding the cooperative purchase of internet service.
is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Let's try this again. Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hasten?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right. On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I move approval of ordinance number 2017-08-038, an ordinance approving an annexation agreement of 801 North Smith Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ammons. Any further discussion? Mary Alice?
Well, you called. she called you.
Okay. My question about this was, I don't know, I struggled with this one, as several of you know, and I'm wondering about what happens after 20 years. This agreement is for 20 years, so what happens then?
Christopher Marks with the Planning Department.
Good evening. After 20 years, the annexation agreement expires as required by Illinois state law, and the property is expected to comply with any zoning statutes within the city or state building codes, et cetera.
So the additional items that we have in terms of setback and the types of businesses that are allowed would no longer apply, is that correct?
Those requirements would be, as I understand, those requirements would be waived, and they would the property would be under the jurisdiction of the normal existing zoning rules at that time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Dennis.
So I don't have the benefit of some of the discussion that took place on this topic, and I read with interest the notes from the Planning Commission's first meeting, but I didn't find the notes for the second Planning Commission meeting, and I'm understanding that the Planning Commission didn't send this to Council with approval, but that Council has added some setback and buffering amendments to it to try to ameliorate some of the concerns of the nearby residents.
That is correct. The city did discuss with the applicant some changes between the meeting last Monday for the Committee of the Whole and today. That would include some more enhanced screening as well as setback requirements for the southern and eastern property lines of the parcel.
And the fact that the city is willing to make this light industrial, even though it's right next to residential that's been established and been there for years, I guess 30 years, some of the houses have been there for ever so long. The city doesn't feel that perhaps this particular plot might be reconsidered as inappropriate for a light industrial? I mean, has that discussion come up?
Our research determined that that parcel was designated for light industrial as far back as 1967 and 68, as well as through the comprehensive plan, which was a long process as recent as of 2005. And the city does have, within its current zoning ordinance, screening and buffering requirements, as well as setback requirements for light industrial uses adjacent to public right-of-way or residential uses. With all those factors combined with the comprehensive plan determination, it was staff's determination that the property was appropriate for a light industrial IN1 designation.
Mm, yeah. The it might be true that staff, feels that that's true, but it's kind of hard to imagine desiring to have a construction lot with racks next to your home. I don't think anybody would really approve of and enjoy having that kind of light industrial pickup and delivery depot next to a residence that you've purchased and lived in for 20 or 30 years. I understand that some of the property owners and the manager of the mobile home court came and spoke with concerns to the commission. Did they come to speak to the council last week?
There was some recorded communication from the management of the parks as well. There, from the first Plan Commission meeting, there were several residents, Mr. and Mrs. Dial, who owned the single-family home sort of to the east of the subject property, had attended the meeting, the Committee of the Whole last Monday, as well as the first Plan Commission meeting. And I believe at the first Plan Commission meeting as well, a gentleman who, I would have to check the minutes, but a gentleman who identified himself as a manager of one of the parks had expressed concerns about some of the issues that we identified in the memorandum.
Do you believe that the city, the planning department, feels that in the long run, the mobile homes courts, which will probably never be annexed into the city because the city doesn't really annex mobile home courts into the city because of various issues with them. Is it expected that the mobile home courts will eventually be vacated and that'll become light industrial, which will make this zoning change appropriate for the future of the community?
Well, we made our determination without any expectation that the mobile home parks would be going anywhere or going away anytime soon. And that's also not to say that the mobile home parks wouldn't be annexed. They might or they might not. There are certain requirements that require properties to be annexed into the city, mainly if they are creating a new sewer connection within distance of an existing sewer line. So, you know, be it with this mobile home park or some of the other residential areas of town that are immediately adjacent to the city borders but aren't part of the city, there are, for the purposes of environmental and public health reasons, that it's a possibility they might be annexed in the future, but that's too far out to determine as of right now.
Are any mobile home parks currently within the city bounds?
I would have to check that information.
I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but there are.
Yeah.
There is one, okay.
To my knowledge, there's one on the one on East Main, and I think it's in the. I don't know the exact address. It's on the East Main.
Is it on the south side?
It's on the north side.
North side.
North side of the road.
Well, I know it's not in my ward.
I can get that information for you.
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking that we've never had one, but you're saying that we do have one, but it must have been an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I imagine if the sewer connection was required, we would adopt the houses as they are into the city, because the whole property would be included then if there was a connection to the city sewer system.
I think
You
it
would
would-
accept them as is?
I believe it's new connections, not necessarily, or existing connections when they are, when they need to be replaced. I believe that is the policy. I would
Mhm.
need to look further into that, but that, as I understand, is the requirement.
Well, I imagine, so I don't know the details, but is a mobile home court typically on a septic tank service?
They might be on I'd have to check into the details of this one. They might be on a septic service. They might be on their own private sewer system.
Oh,
It depends on the property.
so where would a private sewer system deposit? Would it deposit it into the cities? It couldn't possibly deposit into the city's system.
I
so
believe
there'd
they'd be
some other-
connected into the cities, but the city engineer might be able to
Okay.
specifically address some of these.
I'm just trying to determine the future of this property and the properties around it.
Mhm.
Bill?
The two mobile home parks east of this site are both served by sanitary sewer system. They're private sewer system on the properties, but they do, obviously, they drain to a public sanitary sewer,
Oh,
kind of at the south end where Smith Road makes a curve. So both these mobile home sites have private sanitary sewers.
I see, so they
But
were
it's tied
installed.
into, it's like a long service serving all these trailer homes,
Mhm.
but that does flow to a public sanitary sewer.
So that connection doesn't, well, it doesn't require them to become connected or annexed to the city.
No, because that was done prior to 1992.
Okay.
1992 is when the annexation requirement became a law.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, okay, thanks for the information.
Are there any other questions? Bill?
Not a question. Are we in discussion?
We're in discussion, yes.
Yeah, I went out there yesterday and I spent several hours reviewing the Plan Commission meeting videos. And I looked at the width of the road. It seems like, I think 2 large trucks could pass easy enough on there. They'd be going slow because it's a relatively short road. So that was one of the concerns, was whether that road could handle the traffic. The traffic would go from, I think they said 750 to maybe another 600. That would be at the outlet at Guardian Drive. So maybe you're talking about 1,300 vehicles a day. And we have other roads that width, not in the city, that type of, that chip and seal road that have that kind of traffic. I'm thinking like East Windsor, after you go across 130, that has that traffic. That's about 1,000 to 2,000 cars a day on that road. That's a similar road. It also has truck traffic from the nursery there. So I think the road can handle it. It's a concern that, you know, the mobile homes were built so close to the property line. They were packing that park to try to get as much use out of it as possible. If that was built today, we have setback requirements that wouldn't be able to be right there on the property line. So the ones with the end of the home facing Smith Road will be pretty close, probably. I mean, it looks like it's right on the right-of-way, and the right-of-way is 65 feet wide, so there's maybe 15 feet on each side of the road. So, you know, it's going to be close to the traffic going by there if this is approved. I think the other road that would be most impacted would be Coachman, the east-west road on the north side of the Southernmore mobile home park, because that, although this development, the first part will be up in the northeast part, so that's where the construction yard is planned. The potential other light industrial uses would extend to the rest of that plat, so there could be some close areas there, but I think with the additional screening that the petitioners agreed to, that would help mitigate that. I think a lot of the concerns that came to us have been addressed in some way, mitigated either by additional screening. It seemed like one of the objections was just potential impact on property values from the visual impact, so I think the screening would help that. The noise, from what I understand, and maybe you would correct me if I'm wrong, our noise ordinance would apply to this parcel just like it applies to everything else. Is that right?
Yes, if it's part of the city, it would be subject to nuisance code, and also the landscaping evergreen trees were designed with some consultation with our city's arbor division as to how they could minimize the effect of any sound generated from the property.
So I think a lot of the concerns actually that people talked about when they were here seemed to be concerns they had from the way things were done and occurred over the past 20, 30, 40 years with the landfill being sited there. I certainly understand that would be, that would be a drag if you're living someplace and somebody puts a landfill practically in your backyard. Although I have to say, when I was out there riding around, I like to do it on my bike so I can take my time. You don't really notice you don't notice the landfill. It's a real rural feel to it. There's a lot of there's a lot of trees. This property has trees all around it already. I don't know how, I don't know if they would cut all those down to plant 2 little rows of evergreens. I hope not. It seems like, you could put 2 rows of evergreens and leave a lot of those trees too. But I mean, it has a fairly rural feel to it when you're out there. And if you go, there's other light industrial uses to the west, I guess, near the park, near AmVets Park there. I think some of those would be similar. There's a Union Hall. I mean, this allows for a lot of kind of low-intensity uses. I do think it's an appropriate transition to residential. I've lived near those type of uses before. I've lived on busy streets that I would have considered much worse than living near those conditions. I used to live near Shelton Laundry. That would be light industrial. And that, I was half a block away. I hardly ever noticed it. I think people hear industrial and they think smokestacks sometimes. But I think, we've done a pretty good job of narrowing down what types of uses people objected to. Almost all the transportation uses were taken out. So, this is not easy, but this is the way cities eventually come into conforming use. If this was left out in the country and this type of use were to occur there, they wouldn't maybe have the same opportunities to come up with noise remedies, for example. I don't know if the county has a noise ordinance. I don't know, if some of their other nuisance ordinances are as strong as ours. So I think annexing it would actually be a plus in a lot of ways. So I think unless somebody convinces me otherwise, I'm going to vote for this.
Any other comments? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
I don't think I support it. I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
Mayor Marlin?
Yes. That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right, on behalf of Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move the adjoining ordinance, ordinance number 2017-08-039, the ordinance annexing certain territory into the city of Urbana, specifically 801 North Smith Road, for approval by council.
Second.
Any discussion? Seconded by Aaron. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Well, to be consistent, I'll vote no.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
Mayor Marlin?
Yes. That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move approval for ordinance number 2017-08-045, an ordinance approving an amendment to an annexation agreement discussed last week with the property being 2707 East Airport Road.
Is there a second?
I'll do that.
Seconded by Mr. Roberts. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
Mayor Marlin?
Yes. That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right, on behalf of Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move approval of ordinance number 2017-08-046, an ordinance approving an amendment to a redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Urbana, Champaign County, Illinois, and 121 North Ray Street, LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mary Alice Wu. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right, I'm going to move a approval on behalf of Committee of the Whole of ordinance number 2017-08-047, an ordinance approving an amendment to a redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Urbana, Champaign County, Illinois, and Broadway Market, LLC.
Is there
I'll
a second? Seconded by Roberts. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right, on behalf of Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move approval of resolution number 2017-08-051R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement. This one was with Courage Connections.
And that was 051R.
051R.
Second.
Seconded by Wu. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
All right, I'm going to move approval on behalf of Committee of the Whole of Resolution Number 2017-08-052R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement. This one was with Habitat for Humanity.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Roberts. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move approval of Resolution Number 2017-08-053R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement. This one was down payment assistance, and there is an update from city staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Wu, and we have an update from John Schneider.
Just a brief update. The change to the agreement, as noted, the memo was changed. The one requested by council that Navicor Solutions would provide in-person counseling to upon a client request. And I just wanted to point out that Janice Parker of Navicor Solutions is here with us tonight in case you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Parker?
Absolutely.
Aaron, you have a question?
Good evening, Ms. Parker. Thank you for coming. My concern in particular is in relationship to what level of counseling will individuals receive for home ownership or in the process of home ownership. Would that counseling need to take place would they have to travel to you guys, or would you have an office here? Those types of things are the questions that I have.
Sure. The counseling is two-part. The first is one-on-one counseling, which is individual, very specific to the person's household income and qualifications for the program. And the second piece is an online education course. We do not have an office here. Currently, about a little more than 80% of our counseling nationally is done by the phone or over the phone. As you know, Navicor is a national organization, and we have existing relationships with all of the bank partners minus maybe one that is part of this program who currently utilize our phone counseling. Should a client prefers to have face-to-face counseling, our housing counselor will travel here and do the counseling one-on-one at one of our partner locations here in the city.
So the process, I think this question was answered last time, but I want to make sure that I'm clear about it. As far as being approved for the program, are there pre-qualifications that weed out some of the necessary understanding of home ownership or the process of home ownership? I just kind of want to know where you guys are going to pick up and carry the ball as far as counseling.
Sure. So once the person is mortgage approved and qualified based on the program guidelines, which are several and some include income guidelines, we would do the counseling part to actually qualify the individual. So going through making sure that it's income qualified, they meet all the program guidelines, and that they are mortgage approved. So that's kind of where the counseling starts for us.
So I want to make sure then that I fully understand this. Will you be sharing or helping individuals clean up their credit to make sure that they're qualified, or is that something that has to be done before they get to you?
If an individual comes to us and they're not mortgage ready but maybe heard about the program through the city or the community, we'll continue with what we call long-term counseling, meaning the person is not mortgage ready right now, and we'll counsel them until they reach their goal of mortgage readiness. Now, they may not qualify for the program because obviously the funds come attached to an a mortgage approval.
So I appreciate the term mortgage ready.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to get at all throughout
Okay.
this process to understand, because I know that it takes much more in-depth counseling and understanding of this process than what I would see as an online counseling process or just a one-on-one session one time for the really getting people ready for that full gamut and understanding of home ownership, getting your credit ready, and that whole process. So that's what was confusing to me. That was throwing me off, making me think that there was just no way that some one-time sit-down was satisfactory for that. So I have a better understanding now.
Sure, and I just want to add, too, that Navicor actually offers offers what's called a home buyers club. So these individuals are actually not mortgage ready. So they are not approved, and it can be a 6 to 12 month process. And so we meet with them every month. They meet with their housing counselor, going over their credit and those income goals, as well as receiving education every month. Currently, the Community Reinvestment Group, which is a partner in this program, has a program here in Champaign, but it's offered at Parkland, and it's that one-time class. We're working to be able to offer that here as a home buyer club as well, but we need to get through the logistics with the Community Reinvestment Group to allow us to, for them to support us coming here to do that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mr. Miller?
On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I am going to move approval of Resolution Number 2017-08-054R, a resolution approving a City of Urbana Community Development Block Grant Program Agreement. This one was with Courage Connections for Domestic Violence Services Program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Wu. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yep.
Ms. Wu?
Yep.
That motion passes.
All right, on behalf
Mr. Miller?
On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I'm going to move approval of Resolution Number 2017-08-055R, a resolution approving a City of Urbana Community Development Block Grant Program Agreement. This one was with Urbana Neighborhood Connections for the Urbana Youth Development and Employment Program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brown. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you very much. Reports of special committees. Dennis?
Well, I'm going to make just a really brief comment about the recent trip the Sister City Committee or project took to Malawi, Africa. We spent 10 days there, ultimately doing some really important work. We'll have a full report next week or the week after when we get some of our luggage back and can offer some of the gifts that were given to us to distribute here, and also put together a little bit of a slideshow. We really did a great job of building some improved cooking stations at the cooking shelter at the hospital. Visited 4 primary schools, 3 primary schools where we had built toilets 6 years ago, and delivered significant amount of school supplies, which the headmasters at their schools couldn't believe were being delivered to them at no cost. So it was a really important moment. And we made some really great connections at the university, Chancellor's College, and actually met the president of Chancellor's College. And we'll report more about that in the near future.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. And I hope your luggage is returned soon.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you.
Reports of officers. Bill Gray?
One item, and that is the long-awaited grand opening of the Kickapoo Rail Trail will occur this Friday, August 25th at 5:30 p.m. Downtown St. Joseph, 107 North Main Street. There's been a lot of efforts and a lot of people, a lot of fundraising, but the first phase, if you will, is done between Urbana and St. Joe. And I understand a few folks had a chance to test drive the trail here recently and check it out a little bit. But officially for the public, it will be open as of the 25th after the grand opening. So We encourage everyone to walk it, ride bike, whatever. So this is a big deal, I think, for the county, for the city, and for the future.
Aaron?
I just want to make sure that there won't be any complications when Amir and I show up with Dexter. Is that going to be a problem? Do you know who Dexter is, right?
That's the horse.
Dexter's the horse.
That will be a problem.
See, I mean, I was told that it was fine, that we could walk the trail with them, so now I don't...
We're not the manager or the maintainer of this trail here, so I can't answer that question.
So who do I need to call?
Forest Preserve.
Forest Preserve District.
Okay.
Any other questions about the trail? Bill?
It was reported by one, I think Champaign County Bikes, talked with the Forest Preserve, and they said for people going to the opening in St. Joe, if they want to get on the trail at 4:30 on Friday and ride to St. Joe, that would be okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
Good.
So bring your kids.
It's 6.7 miles from Route 130 to St. Joe, in case you're wondering. Just to remind any other reports of officers. Just a reminder that this is the Sweet Corn Festival weekend in Urbana, Friday night starting at 5, all days, well, Saturday beginning at noon on downtown Urbana. And also a reminder, if you haven't signed up to receive the city's new newsletter, you can do so by going to the homepage and following the link from the homepage. So this is a newsletter that's sent out once a month, emailed once a month. Okay, new business. I have one appointment to make, and I'm very pleased to recommend Sergeant Jason D. Norton for promotion to lieutenant in the Urbana Police Department. Beginning in 1999, Sergeant Norton has served in Urbana as a patrol officer, metro team leader, and patrol sergeant. Prior to that, Sergeant Norton served with the Champaign County Sheriff's Department and the United States Marine Corps. He also has served as adjunct instructor at the University of Illinois Police Training Institute, completed more than 1,200 hours of professional training, and has received 4 certificates of merit and a life-saving award. His resume was attached or included in your packet. Is there a motion for approval?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for approval of Lieutenant Jason D., is it D or N. Norton?
Yes.
D.
D. Jason D. Norton.
I'll second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Miller. Any discussion or questions? Okay. Is this
Yes, I have questions. Do I get to ask Jason questions? Or?
Sure.
Oh, okay. You brought your security with you?
I did.
First of all, how you doing, Jason?
Good, good.
I wanted to know a little bit more about the certificates that you've gotten from PTI. I thought you
Certificates?
said there was Police Training Institute certificates.
No, adjutant, an assistant instructor out there, or I used to be, but yes.
Okay. Was that with Mike?
Hmm?
So I was just wondering if you were part of any of the implicit bias and those sort of trainings and stuff that were taking place recently. That's what I was trying to get.
No, I was more on the tactical side, the firearms, control tactics, the building searches, stuff like that,
Okay, all right.
as far as an instructor.
And you were on patrol for a while, the patrol meaning that you were in the cars patrolling the streets here, right?
Yes.
Okay, how long did you do that?
Well, up until last week. So,
Fairly recent.
I was a patrol sergeant.
Okay.
So.
I was really trying to get more at the PTI stuff. I thought you had been a part of that. I wanted to ask some questions about that, but
No.
okay. All right, thanks anyway.
The certificates she was talking about are awards that are given through the department. I think
Okay,
it just followed the PTI information as far as the resume, so I think that's where the confusion was.
okay, all right, no problem.
Did I miss a comma? Yeah, I missed a comma.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Is this a roll call vote or voice? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Lieutenant
Thank
Morgan.
you.
Okay. I have one brief announcement to make and this is regarding a joint statement that we're releasing tonight from Mayor Deb Finan and myself. And it reads as follows. As mayors of the cities of Urbana and Champaign, we wish to strongly condemn the hateful violence, bigotry, and racism associated with groups promoting ideology of white supremacy, neo-Nazism, anti-Semitism, and the KKK. We believe our community is greatly enriched through diversity brought by people from across the nation and around the world. We join with the leadership of the University of Illinois system to, quote, reaffirm those bedrock values that promote a culture of understanding and respect for all, no matter what color, race, ancestry, age, interests, sexual orientation, LGBTQ status, religion, disability status, national origin, immigration status, or gender, end quote. This is signed by myself and Deb Frank Finan, Mayor of the City of Champaign. And with that, seeing no further business before this council,
Can I make a comment?
yes.
So I certainly appreciate the statement, and it's warranted, and it's, again, much appreciated that it would come from the both of you. I am also concerned about, and I would appreciate, or would have appreciated, I did speak to Chief Morgan about this, a statement as it relates to the suggestion by our current president to be not so nice as it relates to apprehending individuals who have been arrested for not convicted of anything, and not that people who have been convicted of something should be treated not so nice. But the statement was made to, I believe, chiefs of police in various different police departments to rounding applause. And I would appreciate a condemnation of such a suggestion by our current president, by our police chief, or by you as well to go along with that. I think it fits right in line with the statement that was read this evening. But I just wanted to say that because I did not see or hear much from the cities of Champaign or Urbana as it relates to that. And given the concerns that we all have around police brutality or the IDOT traffic stop, anything like that being suggested, I believe if we're willing to make a statement like this, then we should be willing to make a statement as it relates to that suggestion made by the current president.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.